Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And welcome to another episode of the Dr. Will Show, where I interview educators and entrepreneurs on leveling up. Each week, I zoom in someone who's dope, and we have a conversation on what it means to live your best life. Now, today, I'm here with Dr. Mary Hemphill, or shall I say, Queen Mary.
Hi.
She is doing it, presented at model schools, winning awards, speaking, dropping all sorts of knowledge on how schools can get better. And I wanted to have her on the show. She was on the show 3 years ago. I've been wanting to get her back on, but she's been in Jamaica and traveling. It's hard to get in contact with her. She's big like that nowadays. But I wanted to have her on to talk about vision, because that's the one constant that I see in what you do. It's all about vision. And so I want to have you on and share your knowledge, some experiences with those who will be watching the show, because the focus of my show is always about encouraging and inspiring teachers to take that first step. I believe if they can take that first step, that they can move in the direction that they want to go. So Dr. Mary, will you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much. First of all, it is amazing to be back. I had a fantastic time 3 years ago. I've followed you, and the show is just so inspirational. So it is an honor to be here. As an educator, public educator, now an administrator in middle school, I've ventured on to middle school. It has just been fantastic to not only listen to the changing conversation around academics, but also how people are really sort of plugging into this new level of what it means to be their best self. I know a lot of people talk about living their best life, but people are really putting themselves out there in a very brand new way. It's an exciting time to be in education. I not only have the honor of being the proud principal of a middle school, but I also am an adjunct professor at UNC Chapel Hill, where I teach public service leadership and organizational theory, so that people can understand too what it means to lead the public. So I'm very, very excited about that. Like you said, I just got back from model schools. My former school was chosen as a model school here in North Carolina. We changed the letter grade from an F to almost a B in 2 years. Fantastic team of people, from the students to the parents to the teachers, and I wish I could have taken them all with me, but I am just very honored, very blessed to be on this journey. And so thank you so much for having me back.
You are welcome. You can't. Model school is expensive. You ain't got to say it. I will.
Thank you.
A lot of conferences, and I did a live stream video once about it. I'm like, okay, your admission rate is $600.
Yes.
What school do you expect to be paying for that?
Exactly.
I'm like, they wrong. I'm hearing something. Are you hearing anything?
A little bit, yes.
I am. Let me put my headphones on and see if that stops. All right. Do you still hear?
Yes, I can hear. Well, I'm going to put mine in too. Hold on.
All right.
Okay. Is that better?
Yep. I don't hear it.
Perfect. Yeah, it's much more clear.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I had to get on them. I'm like $600, $595. I mean, if a school can afford to do it, they're not going to send a lot, especially since the Title II funds got cut. They don't have all that PD money just sitting there.
Right. And what's so sad about it is that the model schools, it literally is like-minded people all coming together in an experience that teacher leaders deserve. Mm-hmm. So, but it was a grip.
Yes. Woo. Yeah, I was blessed to get free admittance.
Oh, yes.
And I presented as well. So, I just coughed up the hotel or whatever. But yeah, it was, you look at it and you go, well, I'm like, well, brother gonna be going local, because I can't be doing all that. So let me get back on this topic. People, we're going to be talking again about vision. So I talk to teachers all the time, right? They want to make new moves. They want to be better. They want to present at conferences. They want to write books, start their own consulting companies. Please speak to the importance of vision, and how does someone define their own vision?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that we're talking about this topic, because the truth of the matter is that as the world is evolving and we go into this fourth industrial revolution, there are so many distractions that are out there when it comes to just being a human on the planet Earth. There are, from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, not only do we have our friends and our family who just the human connection takes away sort of from our everyday drive, our everyday sort of journey, because every time we interact with someone, it takes a piece of us away from that day. But when you start adding emails going off, notifications from different apps that may be on your phone, phone calls, and just life in general, there's so much vying for a piece of you, a piece of your heart, and your mental capacity to be fully present, that if you don't have vision, it is very easy and almost excusable now to be distracted from what it is that you were on this earth to do. And when you're a teacher leader, or whether you're a school leader, if you don't keep that vision in the forefront of every interaction that you have, you can get away from your true purpose, which leads to burnout. Teachers are going into classrooms now, and they are not just teachers. We hear it all the time. They're psychologists, they're therapists, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're just all these different things. And then after we can push that aside, we start talking about curriculum. How do we implement the best math curriculum? How do we use technology to enhance instruction and not just be a glorified projector? If you don't wake up every day and at least say to yourself, or read to yourself, or utter under your breath, my vision is, or I know my purpose is, everything will take away from what it is that you're truly meant to do. And then at the end of the day, the end of the week, end of the school year, after 180 days, you have found yourself not accomplishing anything. And that's not okay, because as a teacher leader, or even as a school leader, if you don't take one step every day towards your vision or towards your purpose, it will be very easy to... Hi.
It's my niece.
Oh.
My sister and her family are over. It's Dr. Mary. Okay, I'll be done. When I'm done, I'll come out and see y'all, okay? All right? Okay. People, this is a live show. Okay, I'm recording now. You can let that microphone go. Now, once someone determines their vision, how do they begin the work of earning influence? And how does crafting or creating a strong value proposition come into play when one is trying to gain influence in their field?
And that's a great question too. One of the biggest things that I found in terms of like gaining influence and just making sure that you have a value base is to continue having the same conversation and practicing your elevator speech. I think when you can have consistent conversations with people who are influencers in the field, and even people who can help your grassroots sort of industry, your grassroots sort of kind of be bolstered up, then that creates value for you. For instance, transformational leadership is a big thing out there. And as a Title I principal who transforms schools, one of the things I tell my teachers all the time is we can feel really good. We can have the best culture. We can have the best morale in this building. But if we have no data, if we have no numbers, if we cannot change the trajectory of these students' proficiency and growth, we're going to have nothing. So it is about continuously having that conversation. And I don't just tell teachers, I tell parents that same question. Listen, you need to hold me accountable. If you are sending your child to this school, which at the time when I took over IEJ, it was an F, you hold me accountable, because in the summertime, I need to be having a very different conversation with you about how we changed it to a D and then a C. And if I had continued, it would have been a B and then an A. But you have to have that same conversation. So to be an influencer in the field, if your values don't show up in the boardroom, in the grocery store, if they don't show up in what you say on social media, if they don't show up in what you say in your just everyday conversations in the street, then you're going to lose credibility. And then if somebody says a word, if somebody says transformation, or somebody says ed tech, your name needs to pop up in their head, because they know that that is what you stand for and that you put the work behind it to get it done. And if you can't say that, then you're just a jack of all trades. And we live in a world where it's too easy to become an expert on something. So it's no longer okay to know a little bit of something about everything. Nobody wants that. People want people who can fill gaps that haven't been filled yet. So that's where your values come in, because you're living it out. And when you live out your values, then you become the expert in it.
I'm taking a sip. Okay. So let's talk about owning one's success, right? Because those of us, and I'm putting myself out there, there are those of us who, you know, we're doing some things out there, and then all of a sudden the imposter syndrome kicks in. And though some people may be saying, oh, you're good, you should apply for this position, or you should do that, you don't really feel that you're ready or you have the qualifications for it, and you don't step up for the next level. Where does that mindset come from, and how does one celebrate their yes and embrace their inner boss?
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to start with, there's two things. The first piece is that before we ever arrive to that yes place, what has happened is that the people around us and even our own selves we've all had the conversation of, how in the world did they get there? And what I mean by that is, if you are a leader at your core, you've either had a boss, or you've had an interaction with someone, or you've had someone, even a celebrity, who has gotten to where it is that you want to go and made the getting there so much harder because of their lack of leadership. And for example, we sometimes have doctors out in the field. I'll just talk about just education. Assistant superintendents, just CEOs, COOs. And you're like, how in the world did they get in this position? Because there is no evidence of their work. And so you perpetuate that conversation with your colleagues, or in the teacher's lounge, or in the cafeteria, or wherever. And then when somebody finally comes to you and says, you know, hey, Will, I think you'd be fabulous for this position, or, you know, Mary, I think you'd be fabulous for this position, you always think to yourself in the back of your mind, yes, but when I get there, I'm not going to be the non-example. But maybe they see something in me that challenges the status quo. So it's twofold. You're fighting against what a road that people have paved for you against your will, sometimes even unbeknownst to you. But then there's a responsibility to leadership to not let your followers down. And it is very, very hard to say yes when, if you're true to yourself, you know it's a responsibility. I think we talk about leadership a lot. There's courses about it. There's books about it. But there are no books on followership, and there are no courses on followership, because a true leader knows that if I say yes to this, I'm not just responsible for me. My decisions don't just affect me. This story doesn't affect me. And so in my humility, it's very hard to be like, yeah, I deserve that. Yes, I should apply. You know what? You're right. Because at the end of the day, you don't want your lack of humility, or even your confidence, to be misconstrued for cockiness. And I think a lot of times too, and I can only speak for myself, as a minority woman, you know, there's already these stereotypes and barriers of, if I'm too confident, I am just trying to prove myself. And if I'm too stern, then I'm just, you know, angry. Or if I'm too lax, I don't know what I'm doing. So you have to have a very delicate balance. And that's where that vision comes in, to say to yourself, if I see myself as a superintendent, if I see myself as a COO of an org, if I see myself as a leader of a nonprofit, it really, at the end of the day, if I'm true to myself and pointed true north, for myself,
Mm-hmm.
humility is going to come into play, balance is going to come into play, and I'm going to do what I said I was going to do from the beginning. And then there'll be no question that I deserve this space in the universe. And that's a hard place to get to.
So I want to throw this out there to you, because from following what you have been doing, I have always thought of you as someone who's self-assured, someone who's driven, and someone who is dedicated to make that impact. Where did that come from? And how, and I guess, and how do you cultivate that to keep pushing, to keep bettering yourself, to keep wanting to be and become your best self, when we know in our field there's a lot of stuff that goes down that makes teachers and leaders, after so many years, they do burn out, or they become disillusioned, or they look at that paycheck and it's like, it's time to roll.
Right. Absolutely. Everybody's journey is different. But one of the things that I kind of keep to myself, or I kind of say to myself every day, is I have to hold hands with two people. I have to hold hands with someone who is where I want to go. And I have to hold hands with someone who wants to get to where I am. And I think in that, it keeps my vision, on where it is that I'm trying to go, but it also keeps me grounded to remember that in the space I'm carving out, somebody is truly trying to get here, and it's not easy for them. I have been met with lots of challenges along the way. And the reason I say that is because I have a strong desire to change the landscape of public education and to do things differently. Having come from a school that, when you're in elementary school and you're in second or third grade and your school is a dumping ground school, just from the way that the teachers act, to your principal act, and you don't even know what that means until you become a teacher and you return back to that same school, which is what I did. And to hear people saying, well, this is where they send the worst teachers. And that this is not, parents don't get up every morning and say, okay, Johnny, Tyrone, Susie, Bonquisha, like, get ready, because I'm sending you to the dumping ground school. You have to stand up and speak for people who don't have a voice. When I returned back to my school, I knew I wanted to be a principal because I wanted to affect more change for different teachers and different leaders and communities. And the principal who I went to, who actually did my internship with, she said, Mary, when you get to the principalship, just remember that you're going to be alone and you're going to be by yourself, and that the principalship is the loneliest job there is. And everything in me just felt as if there can't be any truth to this, because if that were the case, then everything I've learned about collaboration, everything I've learned about teamwork, everything that I've learned about community, all the people can't be wrong. All the research can't be wrong. And I will say this, the most powerful influences for me have been the non-examples that I've had to deal with and fight with and challenge and almost shatter to get to this place. But I do that because if I do, then that's one less enemy out there in the field for somebody else to have to go through. But I think telling the story again and again and again, and waking up and saying, okay, there's students who are truly depending on me. Like, if I give up and don't get this right, then that's 30 teachers who are going to leave the field next year. Or that's one more central office leader who is going to keep perpetuating this for another principal. You asked about the drive. Sometimes the drive is not popular, and sometimes the drive is not accepted, because I am the principal in principals meetings who asks the tough questions or says, that sounds like a great program. I'm sure it's wonderful. It just really doesn't make sense for what we're doing right now. So how can we make this work in the context of our kids, like tomorrow? Because I have to go back in the building tomorrow. This has to make sense for right now. And so when you're that renegade, or when you're that, mold maker, so to speak, you have to stand in the courage that you're doing the right thing. But I always live by the mantra that history makers are rule breakers. And so I plan to make history, and I'm not going to do that by following any set of rules that have been created to contain me.
So now I want to talk to you. I'll ask you this because you're talking, and see, as you're going, this stuff popping into my head. About finding those people, those like-minded people, that core group of people that you are able to fellowship with, that you can grow with, that they can hold you accountable. So if you say, this is what I want, they can hold you accountable. So, well, you said you wanted this. What are you doing every day to get there? How important is it for you to do that, and for others? You know, I heard Steve Harvey once say that you are, or you will become, the closest 5 people you are with. Yes. So if your 5 friends are broke, then you more likely going to be broke.
Yes.
So when you are looking to sort of create your own accountability group, or other teachers or those who maybe listen to this podcast, how important is it to put together that group of people that you can grow with, that will assist you in learning and growing and becoming your best self, and will challenge you on your assumptions, and will even, you know, if you were to just throw it out there, hey man, I want to be a superintendent, that they'll tell you, you say you want to be a superintendent. What are you doing to get there? Have you taken the test? What books are you reading? What courses are you taking? What conferences are you going to? How important it is to surround yourself with those kind of people.
Absolutely. It is critical. It is paramount that leaders surround themselves with their soul tribe. And what I mean by that are just the people who give you life, like breathe life into your vision. And even understand that your soul tribe, even though they're going to breathe life into your vision, that they embrace the fact that your vision in February cannot and should not be your vision in July. Why? Because they have challenged you so much. They have asked you so many questions that it has caused you to go within like the deep recesses of yourself and say, you know what? My vision was good, but it could be great. But in order to do that, I have to tweak this. I have to go to this person. I have to read this book. I have to do that. And if your vision is the same in July, they are so constructively supportive with you and saying, first of all, like, Will, I love you, but the fact that we're still here is so not okay. Because the longer it takes for you to evolve this vision, that's keeping you away from the work that you're supposed to do out in the world. And so to find those people and to stay connected with those people is a part of your self-care as a leader. And, you know, to make the time on your calendar to say, hey, I just need 30 minutes. I just need a phone call. I need a Google Hangout. I need a Zoom session. I need something to where I can just connect with you and to know that that's okay. I think a lot of people think I'm a great leader if I sacrifice, but they're sacrificing like all the wrong things. Mm-hmm. You can't operate with no sleep. You can't operate if you don't feel good, because then you're going in and taking your lackluster leadership to the people. That's inexcusable. And then your soul tribe are the people who are supposed to be keeping you grounded and keeping you, being your best self. So, I mean, leaders need their soul tribe like they need air. Because then you're just kind of out there. And again, that goes back to what that principal told me, that the principalship or this leadership role is lonely. It is not. We weren't put on this earth by ourselves. We have to figure out how to make this work with other human beings. And in order to do that, you have to surround yourself with people who are going where you're going and are going to support you in getting you there.
And so I got to throw this out there to you, because you are a school leader. When one of your teachers tells you, Doc, I have a vision for myself to become an academic coach, or maybe they want to be a principal themselves. Where do you see your role as the leader in helping them fulfill that vision?
There is one thing I tell my teachers, and it does not matter if it's a teacher who's been there 30 years and I just arrived. It doesn't matter if I hire them or if it's a teacher who's been transferred to my school. I tell my teachers every year, there's only one thing I can promise you, and that's that you will be a better version of yourself after we have experienced each other. And the reason I say that is because I believe that teacher capacity and building relationships with teachers and understanding where they're going is critical to the growth that I expect them to have for their students. You know, I have teachers in my building who, some I hired and some that were already there that have masters of school administration degrees. They want to, they have the degree. They're just happen to be still in the classroom. Or I have teachers who are in the MSA program and want to be principals. So, you know, we talk about, hey, you know, can I shadow you? You know, what's it like to be a principal? And we have those conversations, but I decided to take it to the next level. And we have principal meetings at the district level once a month, in which I'm out of the building. And so what I do is the day before, and I think I had 5 or 6 teachers this year. The day before, I have them come to the office right after school, and I, you know, have my office all ready, and I tell them what has happened that particular day, what parents have, you know, have come into the office, what kinds of different things we're dealing with. And I give them my key to my office. I give them my walkie-talkie, and I give them their laptop access so that they can get into just seeing what the discipline looks like. And they are the principal for the day, for the next day. I use my school funds, and I pay for our substitute so that they're prepared and that they have a good sub. They take the school for the day. And I want them in classrooms. I want them talking to, I want them to feel what it's like to be a principal. And I call it principal for the day. And then the office knows to support them, and that my AP, even my APs, I said, I want you to support this person in being the principal. Because if I'm going to help them grow, I got to help them grow. And what better way than to be the principal? And so then the next day when I come back, we debrief. Tell me how it was. You know, I had one teacher, it was a male. He said, listen, he said, I did 30,000 steps on my pedometer. He says, and I was in the hallway complaining. And one of the students said, you're complaining, and Dr. Hemphill does it in heels. You know, so, I mean, he will, but, and he had to deal with an angry parent. And then one of my teachers had, we had a lockdown situation when I was at the principal's meeting. And she said, you know, the law enforcement came, and she says, and I just don't, you know, I didn't know what I said. Exactly. Let's talk about it now. Because once you sit in that seat, and the superintendent hands you the keys, and then you sign that, like it's you. Your name is on a report card. So if we're going to grow people, let's innovatively grow people. And if they want to do something like an academic coach, shadowing is great. The doing is better, because the best teacher does. They don't watch, they do. So that's what we try to do for our teachers. And a lot of them have just come back with really positive feedback about that. I go to my other colleagues and ask them questions, but we got to find a way to better grow our people. And we need to really think outside the box when it comes to doing that.
I want to ask you one more question, but before I do, I want to ask you, what is the greatest life lesson that you've learned about vision?
That when you have a vision for yourself, and you are met with opposition, to thank the opposition instead of fighting it. And I used to, I say my younger years, like I'm like 50, 60 years old. I used to get so angry at the fact that I was being challenged. I used to get so angry when I would fail. I would get angry, like with myself. I would get angry with the other people, person, group, whatever, or the circumstance. And I was wasting so much energy being angry. And what I needed to do is start saying, I thank you for this opportunity. And I thank you for this opposition, because that is a sign that I'm on the right track. Because if I weren't having opposition, and if I weren't being like super challenged, and this was like a super easy ride, then am I going in the right direction? So now when I'm faced with really difficult decisions or something comes in my way, I'm like, thank you. This is an opportunity to hone my skill set, because when I get to the next level, it's going to be times 10. Or when I get to the next level, the enemy could be bigger, or the opposition could be greater. So I gotta practice my muscles on this level, so that I'm super strong when I get to the next. So I welcome the opportunity to have opposition.
Okay. She said, love your hater.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm not at that spiritual place as of yet. I'm like, be gone, hater.
I rebuke you.
Yes. That's where I am right now. So before we go, I want to ask you about specializing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they say that in order for you to be your best, you have to have that sort of specialization or that niche that you can zero in and really put in the work to become better at or your best at. Because earlier you threw out there the jack of all trades, if you know just a little bit this.
Right.
How important is it to specialize? And do you think that specializing can make you become too narrow of an expert in something?
I think specialization is very, very important for several reasons. You know, we are, as leaders, always trying to find the next best thing, or always trying to find and fill these gaps, these questions that people have had since the beginning of time, but nobody knows the right answer. And we also say that history repeats itself. So the balance that people try to find in specialization is being very good at one thing, but not being so good at that one thing that's like all you can do. You spent your time, your energy, you've gone back to school for this one thing, and then this other opportunity opens up and you don't fit that because you don't have the right qualifications. But I think what we need to do is change our perspective on specialization. Why can't we specialize in things that answer multiple questions and then lead leaders to go to the next level in their capacity to be able to answer those questions? And that's a balance. You know, I mean, you can't just be a leader in leadership. What kind of leadership? Tech leadership, you know, curriculum leadership. And then now I'm stuck in the curriculum and instruction department, but I want to go over here to ed tech, or I want to go over here to student support services. So what you do in your area of specialization is you have conversations with the people in all those different departments, so that even though you show up for curriculum and instruction strong, you know how to implement a new program, you know how to get a 6th grader on a 7th grade reading, you know all of that. But hey, if the pipes break, I mean, you need to be able to grab your wrench and your screwdriver and be like, okay, my school can't flood because then my kids can't learn. So it's about understanding that when you show up, you are the answer to somebody's plethora of questions, even though you're leading the charge in the area in which you are known for. Because I think when you get too pigeonholed and when you get too specific, you're dispensable. And in this day and age, who wants to be, you know, who wants to pay $10,000 to hear me speak on this one thing and then never come back to me for anything else? That's not leadership. That's a one-man show. And that's a one-trick pony. And nobody wants to be that. So when you come and inspire people to seek answers in multiple areas, but they know at the end of the day that you are so good at this one thing and they keep following you and keep getting better because of that, that's when you found your true purpose and your true vision. And then you just have to walk in it and keep getting better and keep adding things to your own toolbox.
Thank you, Dr. Mary, for coming on the show.
You're so welcome.
This gems. See, I've released 8 episodes this month. That's too many. I need to hold on to them. I need to sprinkle them out. Brother need a break. I'm going to have to go on hiatus.
I love it.
But because I really want to release this episode. This is so good. I love the conversation. Love the information. Because I just want teachers really, I don't want anyone, particularly, you know, us, to just go to work and go home. I don't want anyone to just, I'm here for 30 years and I'll enjoy my life when it's done. I want them to be excited every day. I want them to go, where can I go next? Have goals for themselves. And if it's being a teacher for 30 years, that's fine. But what kind of teacher do you want to be? How do you want to evolve?
Right.
And if it's something else, what is that? And how do you put in the work for that? So I hope in some part that my podcast is able to do that to teachers, because I just want them to be excited and live fulfilled lives.
Exactly.
And also get their side hustle on, because I don't believe in talking for free. So thank you for dropping the gems today.
Thank you for having me. It's always great conversation. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do, and continue being fearless.
You're welcome. Thank you. See, that compliment might put some extra zeros in my consulting check. People, so you know how I do this. The video cast will be going up on YouTube. I need you to leave a comment and share it with people. The podcast is going up on iTunes and SoundCloud. I need you to follow, subscribe, leave your comments, because your boy's trying to get Oprah on the show, and I want her to know that I'm doing big things around her. As always, invest in you, EDU. Peace.